Hi there, my name is Brian Kean. I'm the Chief Communications Officer for Sensorium. Sensorium Corporation is a social virtual reality content hub. The content hub itself is called Sensorium Galaxy. It will be coming out next year, next year, 2021. But before we get to that, I'd like to talk to you today about mental health. Can social virtual reality make us whole again? It's time to overcome. Let's move forward and talk about it. Okay, we're going to look at mental health through a lens we can all relate to. COVID, quarantining, and social distancing. How many of us felt lonely this year, lonelier, unconnected, cut off from society and life around us? Once again, I'm speaking to you, not live. Last year this would have been all done live. Instead, I'm coming to you, via Zoom or Skype or Google Meet, who knows. But I'm coming to you in a sense virtually. This has created problems for some of us, for many of us. We just the small talk of talking to people in the elevator, talking to people in the metro, the subway, or wherever. The chat with the barista. That banter is something we all need, and it keeps us connected. Can social virtuality, can virtual reality help us? Mental health suffers. This has been a tough period for all of us, especially for those who have had mental health issues prior to COVID. So, moving from a hectic, chaotic world, we unexpectedly moved into a world of social isolation and an unseen virus. Which, many articles have been written about the nightmares and the people have experienced it. I personally have had nightmares where I wake up in the middle of the night and I tell my wife in the morning, I had the COVID nightmares again, where you fear that you shook someone's hand or you went somewhere without a mask on. Now, VR-enabled therapy is something that has been around in the past 5, 10, 15 years. And obviously, having entered into this unexpected, isolated world, just like our project itself and the whole VR technology, this has been accelerated. VR-enabled therapy uses digitally created environments for treating mental health issues. It expands capacity of mental health treatment. People who, in a sense, couldn't get to a mental health practitioner or didn't, were ashamed. Some people are still ashamed to admit that they might have an issue. They can do it in the privacy of their home. They can immerse digitally and speak with a practitioner or do exercises that help them. Also, mental health solutions through VR can be better tailored to the needs of each individual. So rather than sitting there for hours trying to get to a place where with your psychiatrist or whomever, psychologist, to where they can begin to apply some sort of healing techniques, you in a sense can explore through the virtual world your own needs, what you need, what you feel you need in terms of helping yourself with mental health, rebuilding or establishing your mental health. Also, this is cost issues. Going to a doctor for anything, let alone going to and sitting with a mental health practitioner for hours on end, perhaps even years on end, is costly. Immersing home will be the cost of, the glasses, the cost of the product, the content, however it's being delivered to you, the instrument. This is all very effective in expanding, creating a more sound, a more mentally stable world, if you will. Let's step back 1 second and let me just once again remind you, what is Sensorium? We are a social virtual reality content hub. We're called, the product itself is called Sensorium Galaxy. This is, imagine it's a galaxy, and there will be planets, and the planets will have things like music, the planet called Prism, We'll take a look at that in a video a little bit further down. A planet called motion, where we're dancing and we're moving. So what we are not is, we are not mental health care practitioners. We're not, by no means. We are humanists, believing that technology can make reality better and more inspiring. Our detail-intensive digital worlds, we have human-like avatars, which allow for total human interaction. Now, let me just say this. Technology to date has not necessarily been the friendliest thing, the friendliest element for creating social contact, human contact. Thanks to technology, I'm able to speak to you today, from wherever I may be and from wherever you are. That's great. But at the same time, we all live in our screens. We look at our screens, we look at our little phones, our smartphones, and people walk in the streets, they sit in metros, they sit in restaurants, they sit wherever people go on dates, and they're all looking at their phone, at this little screen. Eye contact has vanished. I mean, in 10,000 years, they're going to say, oh, the humans used to have eyes. What happened? We stopped seeing each other. I watched a young couple last year, 16-year-old kids, young girl, young boy, looking for love. Little they realize that she's sitting next to him and he's sitting next to her in the same bus, and maybe they missed this opportunity to fall in love because they're both in their phones. What's going on? So in a sense, we've actually created barriers to communication through technology. And this is why we think that social virtual reality, what we're doing at Sensorium, can help people become more, can actually help each other see better, clearer. Imagine that. An avatar is going to help human beings see each other better. This is where we are. It's 2020. COVID has brought us to this place. Let's go further. Social virtual reality. What is it? It's social networking. Leaves us less engaged, as I just mentioned. We're all in these public places. We're not engaging. The small screens, the emoticons are masking our true feelings. Social virtual reality opens our eyes. Imagine, I don't feel good when I send the smiley emoticon, or the thumbs up, or the guy with the laughing face, or the tears. This is nonsense, really. It's great, but sadly, and I sometimes feel there's a whole generation of our fellow humans who express themselves solely through these emoticons. You go into a coffee shop, you make a joke. In the old days, people laughed. Nowadays, they just have this, look on their face. I almost feel like I want to say, what emoticon are you feeling right now? Come on, we've got to move forward. And if it's going to be virtual reality to bring us back, to make us more in contact with each other, then great. So, the COVID period, to just sum up, the COVID period has forced us to become physically isolated from each other. Technology to date, prior to COVID, was also separating us, but we still had the physical contact, the elbow of the person next to you in the bus or in the metro or in the coffee shop. You knew there were other human beings around you. But suddenly we fell into this world of COVID and we became completely isolated. And so now, social virtual reality will help us open our eyes. But before we go further, we're going to take a look at the Sensorium offering, the Sensorium Galaxy. We're going to take you, the trailer, which you will see next, is it's like a film trailer to our product, which is coming out, as I mentioned, last year. And this is what our world will look like. And now imagine you being in this world in your avatar. And then I'll tell you more after that. Hope you enjoyed that. It was pretty wild, right? Pretty cool. Yeah, I was also, the first time I kind of immersed into that, was really kind of blown away. So, what do I want to say? There are several methods, several schools of how to use virtual reality for dealing with mental health issues. It's called Vivo and Imaginal Exposure. So, Vivo is, in a sense, you take someone to, they're afraid of snakes, you give them snakes. You help them work with snakes. I think Rod Stewart, whoever remembers Rod Stewart, was afraid of death. So he actually became a gravedigger for a while. Imagine that. Imaginal exposure is something that's very common and in VR. And it's, in a sense, let's say you have a fear of heights. In the virtual world, you can go to the top of the mountain and look down, look over the edge, without being afraid that you might fall. Because if you do fall, you're still in the virtual world. And this helps people, in a sense, unpack their fears, unpack the irrationality of a certain emotion. I don't, there are sounds, I don't like it when someone takes a styrofoam cup and breaks it up. I hear it, I cringe. There will be a time in virtual reality when I will maybe be able to overcome that displeasure of hearing a styrofoam cup. Just the idea of imagining that makes me cringe. Taking a carb, from the boxes and then rubbing it together. I don't like it. So what happens is sometimes in the Vivo exposure, you can take someone and you give them the snakes. In Rod Stewart's case, they're digging graves, and they could have more of a reaction to this real experience. This, though, ladies and gentlemen, the headset becomes our safe place. This is our zone of controlled comfort. Imagine this. Technology to the point where this here, you put this on, obviously I'm not going to put it on because of my glasses, but you can use glasses and use this. And I'm immersing and I'm becoming better. So in the military is using this for helping people overcome PTSD. As I mentioned, overcoming phobias. In our case, we can really help people also overcome the fear of heights and other things like that. And very much so, as you saw in the music, the trailer prior to this, social shyness. Because we are creating a social virtual reality world product with avatars. Our avatars are built around artificial intelligence. Our avatars are capable of communicating with other avatars. So you immerse in your avatar, you put your glasses on, you immerse in, you have in your hands these controllers. You can actually see and speak with other avatars. So in reality, you might be shy, you might be what do you call them, flower on the wall, wallflower, whatever. In the virtual world, you can be crazy, you can be anything you want. And you can overcome these moments of, stage fright, absolute abject fear of talking to the people. You can do it all here in the comfort and safety of these wonderful glasses. There's something known as dance movement therapy. Okay, dance movement therapy. We're using the whole body. So you're in the virtual world, you're in our Planet Prisma, you're dancing, you're rocking to some tunes, and we all dance, right? We all do it. Most people prefer to do it in the safety and the solitude of their homes, in a hotel room if you happen to be traveling. But a lot of us don't feel that so comfortable dancing. But why do you do it? You hear a song, you start dancing. You may think, okay, I'm a terrible dancer, but it makes you feel better. There's something called, it's called DMT, dance movement therapy, and it allows you to use the whole body. Reciprocal interaction between body and mind is happening. There's things happening inside, chemical reactions inside our bodies, which push us to the brain and helps us rationalize emotions and go to places what we otherwise wouldn't go to. So just imagine, I once heard someone say, depression's like laying under a wet blanket. Obviously, if you're laying under a heavy wet blanket, you're immobilized. You're not moving much. So what would you want this person to do who's laying there immobilized under a wet blanket? You'd want them to get up and move around, right? You want them to start dancing, moving around, feeling good, doing these, they say, who knows? You do this and suddenly it interacts in places in the brain that we don't know about. Dance movement therapy has been effective in treating depression, as I mentioned, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's. So this is all in our world of virtual reality. And then we add the social aspects of it. We create a whole social networking element in our product and other products. And we are really moving into places which, if 5 years ago we weren't even thinking about, we were thinking, oh, eventually we'll catch up to this. We need faster speeds of internet, for instance. Now, because of the acceleration caused by COVID, in terms of making VR and social VR not just possible, but absolutely necessary for keeping humankind mentally healthy, we're really moving fast. We're going into good places, and I think it's going to be a healthier world going forward. But right now, so we just saw a small trailer of the Prisma world. We're going to now take another break and look at the world of motion. Now what you'll see now is won't be as polished and as cool as the Prisma world, but it's also very cool in the sense that we're going to travel underwater, and that is a lead-in to, which will eventually be a lead-in to dancing, motion in our motion world. Okay, so let's take a look at that, and I'll come back. Okay, how was that? Very cool, right? What you saw there, we were underwater. That's we're swimming in. It was a lead into our world of motion, where you'll be dancing. You'll be using the dance movement therapy, or just dancing, having fun. Who knows? So, okay, who remembers Pong? Raise your hand. Pong was one of the first, if not the first, home video games, and it appeared in bars or whatever throughout the world. Okay, Pong didn't help you learn ping pong, didn't help you learn how to play better tennis. Pong was Pong, very primitive. What you saw in the world of the Prism world, what you saw in the world of motion, layers and layers and layers of, let's just call it technology. I mean, so much coding, so much writing, the designers creating every square millimeter of what you saw in that virtual world is so labor intensive. It's not something that you can just create and then you have a template and you just churn them out. Each of these worlds that we'll be creating is massively labor intensive. And that, in a sense, the more detailed, the more real that we create the virtual reality, the better off it will be to be able to help people overcome anxiety, to unlearn traumas, in the cases of PTSD, and deal with their phobias, as we've said. So also something that's coming down the pipeline in terms of VR and social virtual reality is that we'll move beyond visual. So you won't just be experiencing this as your avatar, seeing things, and so we're adding the social aspect. So the visual is the virtual reality. The S is the social. So now you're visually and you're also communicating. But then we're moving beyond that. There will be suits that you can put on. You can put on a suit and you actually feel temperature changes. You'll feel moisture changes. So you're actually being almost as much as you can possibly be there. You're dealing with the senses, sight, sound, smell. Then we have time. We have so many different senses. Not just 4 or 5, 6 or 7. We have 10, hundreds, who knows. Motion is a sense that they talk about. I forget what it's called. Feeling and rationalizing. So social virtual reality is going to help us visualize, communicate, move beyond the visual. It's going to help us to feel. It's going to help us to rationalize our feelings. This is massive. The amount of mental health practitioners in the world compared to the amount of humans who need some sort of mental health treatment or therapy, there's just not enough. The capacity is not there. Virtual reality is giving us the capacity to deal with these issues. And who knows? Anything can happen. You can go and get a bad dinner in a restaurant and suddenly be traumatized for life, and you need to overcome, I can't eat eggplant ever again. You go into virtual reality and you pretend you're eating eggplant, and you overcome that. Who knows? There's so much here. It's possible. So, how many of us, how many of you would like to give this a try? Today, tomorrow. We're still in this COVID thing. Hold on. Do what you can, Zoom or Google Meet or whatever you got to do. FaceTime, which was before all that. And just know that if you can't actually physically meet with your mental health practitioner, there is the possibility of immersing into a virtual world, and there is a lot in the pipeline coming down that is going to make this easier thing to deal with now, tomorrow, in the future, and just really dealing with life in general. And I think that's pretty cool. Technology in this regard can actually and will provide us with a lot of answers and a lot of relaxation in our lives going forward. So, just to remind you, I am Brian Kean, Chief Communication Officer for Sensorium. Our product Sensorium Galaxy will be launching next year. We're coming out with the music planet, which is Prism Planet, and Prism, Prism, and Motion Planet. These are cool. These are fun. These are not being created solely for the purpose of this is just an added benefit that we're able to help mental health practitioners. An added benefit. It's nothing that we set out with that in mind. The original concept was not we can help people. We know that by doing all this and doing the best we can, we are getting this value-added effect. So I hope you enjoyed it, and any questions or comments, feel free to check us out on our website there, or send me an email, and sure, look for us next year. Thank you very much, and stay healthy, and stay socially isolated, and hold on to a worldwide vaccine to get us all back to hanging out in coffee shops and whatever. Thank you very much.